What if time were broken, and the seasons existed all at once, with day and night switching only at the whim of the forest? With the enchanted land thrown into chaos, it is up to you as a mystic to tame extraordinary woodland creatures and bring balance back to the forest. Brew is designed by Stevo Torres, with artwork by Morrison and Andrew Thompson, and published by Pandasaurus Games. In Brew, 2 to 4 players will choose how to use the dice to either take control of the seasons or procure goods in the local village. Woodland creatures and brewing potions will help you create engines and mitigate dice as you compete to bring balance to the forest in 45 to 90 minutes depending on player count. Please like, subscribe, and comment so that we can keep making more videos like this. And now join me as we set up and take a look at how to play Brew. The village board should be within easy reach of all players, starting on the day side face up. These larger cards with several dice placement spots are the forest deck. Go through the cards and remove any that do not match your current player count. The icon on the bottom center of each card shows 2, 3, or 4 players. Shuffle the deck and place it face down near the game board. Next, reveal forest cards from the top of the deck based on your player count. In a 2-player game, you will reveal 3 forests. In a 3-player game, reveal 4 forests. And in a 4-player game, reveal 5 forests. Next, take the potion deck, which has the potion symbol on the back. Shuffle all the potion cards and place them in a face-down pile next to the board. Reveal the top 4 potion cards and place them so all players can see. This will be the potion market. The last remaining cards are your creature cards. Divide creature cards into 4 piles based on seasons: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. Shuffle each pile separately and place them face up next to the game board. Finally, create a supply pile for each type of ingredient: Scorch Tokens and Victory Point tokens near the game board. Each player will now either randomly or through an agreed-upon selection process receive a character board and place it in front of them. Collectively decide whether you will all use the special powers on these character boards. Once players have agreed, make sure all players have the same chosen side face up. You will not need the other side for the remainder of the game. If you are playing with character powers, each player can use their unique character power to take special actions and break the rules of the game. All character powers cost energy berries to use. Energy berries spent to use a character power are returned to the supply. Unless otherwise stated, character powers can be used any number of times each round. There's a helpful explanation of each character power on page 17 of the rulebook. Each player should also take the following: 4 forage dice in their chosen color, 2 white element dice, 1 energy berry, and 1 reference card. Finally, the last player to have brewed a cup of tea or coffee may take the first player marker. During the course of the game, you and your friends will place dice strategically to gather potion ingredients, gain control of forests, and train helpful creatures with magical power. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game wins. The game is played over 4 rounds. At the start of each round, all players will simultaneously roll all 6 dice in their dice pool, 4 forage dice and 2 element dice. Then players take turns in turn order until every player has run out of dice, which may happen at different times. At the end of the round, players will claim undisputed forests they control and then perform cleanup before starting the next round. As a helpful reminder, dice will only be rolled at the beginning of each round. Don't re-roll them until the start of the next round. Let's take a look at a player turn. Every player turn has 3 steps which may be taken in any order. Place at least 1 die from your dice pool. You must do this if you can on your turn. Second, you may brew 1 potion that you have ingredients for in the market. Finally, you may drink 1 potion you have already brewed that is in your hand. To place any die, choose any 1 die from your pool. Then, place it on any legal space on the village board or forest card. Placing dice in the village either will help you or hinder your opponents. Placing dice in the forest will allow you to gather ingredients or train creatures with helpful abilities. Let's take a look at some of the village spaces on the day side of the board. The top 2 village spaces cannot be blocked in the game. They are the only spaces where you can always place a die if you have no other options. This symbol that says any die and a sword of shadow shows up on both sides of the board. Training a creature means that you gain any one of the 4 face-up creatures. Place it next to the left side of your character card. You can never have more than 3 trained creatures at a time, but you can always gain a new trained creature and either release it to the right side of your character card, or you may release one of your previously trained creatures. Released creatures no longer give you access to their special powers, but you do get points for them during final scoring. If you ever need an explanation of any creature power, turn to the pages 18 and 19 of the rulebook in order to get information on a specific creature. There is also a breakdown for the creature frequency for each season. The middle space on the day side of the board requires an element die on the fire side and allows you to remove all element dice from all forests. You'll see why that might be important in a minute. The bottom left space requires an element die on the wind side in order to gain 1 energy berry and reveal and reserve 1 potion. The bottom right-hand corner requires an element die on the water side in order to gain 1 of each type of ingredient. The biggest difference between the day and night side of the board is that the fire space in the middle of the board on the night side will allow you to scorch all empty spaces in 1 forest. In order to use the gained Scorch Tokens, place them in the die spaces of the respective forest. Players may no longer use the space which has been scorched. The other spaces on the night side of the board have symbols that you have seen on the day side of the board. Returning to dice placed on the forest spaces, a forage die must be placed on a space with a matching symbol. The main exception to this rule is that you may spend 1 energy berry or 1 matching ingredient to this space you are forcing a die in order to place a die with a different face on the spot. Once a die has been placed, that space is blocked. The main exception to this rule is that powers may allow you to break the rules. Spaces in forest allow you to gain creatures or train creatures as shown on the individual spaces. If you gain ingredients, gain 1 of that type. If you train a creature, as usual, take the top available creature from one of the 4 piles. You can also choose to spend a matching ingredient or energy berry to force a die onto a space that does not match the die face. If you ever force a die onto a space, you do not gain ingredients. Let's talk about energy berries real quick though. Each player starts with 1 energy berry and more can be gained throughout the game. Energy berries are considered wild when spending ingredients to force a die on a spot and brew potions. However, if you go to a spot that allows you to gain any 1 ingredient, you may not choose to gain energy berries. Okay, back to forest spaces. An element die can be placed on a space with any forest symbol, or remember that it can be placed on matching village spaces. When you place an element die to gather or to train on a forest space, you may also use the die's element power. You have a helpful reminder card for these powers, but they are as follows. Fire may be placed on top of any placed die in a forest. Covered dice do not count for control of the forest. Water dice allow you to gather twice as many ingredients as shown on the spot. Wind allows you to exchange 1 of your own placed forage die and return it to your pool of dice without changing the die face. Whenever you place an element die, it is no longer yours and does not count for control of a forest. On that note, let's go ahead and talk about forest control. Although you won't check for control of a forest until the end of the round, you should know how this area control works in order to win the game. You control a forest if both of the following are true. 1. You have more forage dice in the respective forest than each other player individually. In particular, who has the most of their colored dice in the forest. Second, you must have more forage dice than the total number of elemental dice in that location. In this example, Leo has 2 dice in the Summer Spring Forest, which is more than Lyric and Mila each have. Leo controls the first forest. Here in this Spring Forest, Leo and Mila each have 1 die, so it is not controlled by any player. In the third forest, Leo is the only player with a die in the Winter Forest, but there are 2 element dice here, so they do not control it. Finally, in this Autumn Forest, Leo has more dice than Lyric, but it is tied with the element dice, so no player gains control of this forest. Any unclaimed forests will go in a face-up pile next to the deck and are not returned to the game. As a reminder, some powers let you place a die on top of a placed die, such as the fire element power. This can create stacks of 2 or more dice on a single space. When any number of dice are stacked on the space, only the top die counts towards controlling the forest. Dice that have been covered by other dice do not count. However, dice that have been covered can still be moved, swapped, removed, or returned. There's no limit to the number of dice that can be stacked on a single space. That was dice, the main part of playing this game, and the necessary action players must take on each turn. However, there are 2 more actions players may take, and it relates to the name of the game, brewing and drinking potions. You may brew 1 potion each turn. In order to brew a potion, players choose a potion from the market, or one that you have reserved, and pay the ingredient cost in the top left corner. Return all tokens you pay to the supply. Add the potion to your hand. Then reveal a new potion from the deck and add it to the market to replace the one you brewed. Once you've bought a potion, you keep it in your hand where it is hidden from other players until you decide to drink it. There is no limit to the number of potions you can have in your hand. Potions in your hand at the end of the game still score full victory points. Some village bases allow you to reveal and reserve a potion. When you do this, first reveal the top potion from the deck. Then choose either the potion you revealed or a potion from the market to reserve. If you choose a potion from the market, add the potion revealed to the market to replace it. Do not reveal a second potion from the deck. Reserved potions do not go to your hand. Place reserved potions face up near your character board. Once you have reserved a potion, only you may brew it. Brewing a reserved potion costs the same ingredients as brewing from the market. There's no limit to the number of potions you may have reserved at any one time. Until you brew them, reserved potions may not be drunk and are worth 0 victory points. When you are ready, you may drink a single brewed potion each turn. Drinking a potion allows you to use its power. Each turn you may drink one potion from your hand either before or after placing your dice. Reveal the potion from your hand and resolve its power. Then tuck it face down behind your character board. Each potion brewed can only be drunk once during the game. Potions you have drunk score full victory points at the end of the game. Once a player has no dice left in their pool at the start of their turn will be skipped. Once your turn has been skipped, you may take no further action for the rest of the round. This means you may not brew or drink potions if you have no dice to place. Once all players have run out of dice, the round is over. Check for the end of the game. If the forest deck is empty, the game is over. Otherwise, set up for the next round. First, take back dice. All players take back their 4 forage dice and any 2 element dice. Next, flip the village board. Flip the village board to the opposite side. Reveal new forest by dealing a new row of forest cards, just like in the initial setup. Deal a new row of forest cards. Finally, pass the first player marker clockwise and start the next round. Play will proceed like this, with players taking turns in clockwise order for each round. At the end of each round, follow the same cleanup steps of claiming forests, using creature prowess, checking for game in, setting up the next round with taking back dice, flipping the village board, and revealing new forests, and finally passing the first player token. Once the game ends because the forest deck is empty, the game is over, and all players proceed to final scoring. At the end of the game, all players add up the following to determine their final scores: brewed potions, claimed forest, released creatures, victory point tokens, and leftover ingredients. Let's take a look at how to score each category. Reveal all potions in your hand and your drunk potions pile. Score the victory points printed on them. Do not score any victory points for reserved potions that you did not brew. Claimed forests. Score the victory points printed on all forests you claimed. Released creatures. Release all of your trained creatures. You may move them to the matching forests. Score 3 victory points for each creature that is in a forest and 1 victory point for each creature that is not in a forest. Forests may have multiple types. Forests with these 2 types can accept a creature of either type, but each forest can only accept 1 creature. When you move a creature to a forest, flip it face down to reveal the 3 victory points on the back of the card. For example, this forest can accept summer or spring creatures. If I place this spring creature in this forest, it is worth 3 victory points at the end of the game. Victory point tokens. Score all victory point tokens you have collected throughout the game. Leftover ingredients. Score 1 victory point for every 3 leftover ingredient tokens. This includes energy berries. The player with the highest final score is the winner. In the case of a tie, the tied player with the most leftover ingredients, including energy berries, is the winner. If there is still a tie, the tied players share the victory. You've just learned how to play Brew by designer Stevo Torres, with artwork by Jake Morrison and Andrew Thompson, and published by Pandasaurus Games. What special power do you enjoy most in the game? Do you have a favorite creature? Those dice can be pretty mean. Did anyone get bothered by one of your dice placements? Let us know in the comments the answer to any of those questions. Thanks for watching, and happy gaming.